What is good, internet people? Today we are doing a Battle of the Blades, episode 3. This is where I take two knives that I find comparable in some way and do a review / head-to-head comparison to see which one outpoints the other in a round-by-round fight. This video, we have the Civivi Vision FG, a SNEX design with Civivi. And then we have the Demko AD 20.5, a Demko design on his own after he left Cold Steel. So first round, we are going to do carry profile. I think the most important thing when a knife is in your pocket, or anything for that matter is in your pocket, how much space is it taking up? As you can see here, the Demko is quite a bit taller than the Vision FG, which does mean it just takes up more space in the pocket. And then thickness, you can see they're about the same. These are aftermarket scales, so it's not a direct comparison of the out of the factory. But I don't think the micarta scales from Flytanium add too much thickness or take away too much. I just wasn't going to put them back on because that's a lot of work. But the fact that I had to swap out the scales is a topic we'll talk about in the materials round of this Battle of the Blades. The next thing is the pocket clip. So on the standard pocket clip for the AD 20.5, it sits very, very high in the pocket. You've got plenty of space to grab this if that is something you prefer on your pocket knives, to have a little bit to grip to pull out. I swapped it out for this clip that makes it sit almost all the way in the pocket. Honestly, it might be a little too much even for me, and I prefer a deep carry clip. On the Civivi, also replaced the pocket clip. The original one definitely sits pretty deep, but you still had maybe about that much to grab onto. This one, you have about this much. Replace the clips for different reasons. Also, will get touched on in the materials point round. Overall, in the pocket, the Civivi is much more rounded. I feel like that is something that I prefer in my knives, is to be a little bit more rounded, a little smoother. And then also, it just takes up less space. So the point goes to Civivi for the carry profile, in my opinion. Deployment, round 2. How do these knives deploy the blade? The Civivi, you got thumb studs, which work great. The action is very smooth. Or you can use the lock and just give it a little whip. With the Shark / Super Lock, this one is the Super Lock, I feel like they give you a little bit of like a kick whenever you deploy them. So it kind of doesn't need as much of a whip as something like a crossbar or a button lock, something like that. I feel like these kind of push the blade out a little bit, almost like a rear flipper. On the Demko, you have thumb studs, and you also have the opening hole for your Spidey flick needs, or you can also do the whip. So on deployment, action-wise, I feel like the Demko is a little bit mushier, but I think that actually lends itself well to a lock like this. I feel like the Civivi is a little stiffer, but still very smooth, and you get a very satisfying flip when you use the thumb studs. But because it has the opening hole, it gives you an extra method of deploying. So I have to give deployment to the AD 20.5. So that is round 2 to the Demko. Now the lock. This is where a lot of times it ends up being a wash in these videos because they have similar or the same locking mechanism. But these are very similar, but also very different. It's kind of an interesting comparison, which is why I chose these two. They function very similarly. They look similarly. But the execution is what we are going to talk about here. So first we're going to talk about the Demko. You have a spine fin here, the shark lock. You push it down and it releases the blade. When it is in the locking position, you have a tab that slides into this notch right here, locking, oh, not right there, right there, locking up the blade. It is one of the strongest locks and also one of the most fidgety locks out there. Same thing on the snecks. You have that fin, you press down and it opens the blade and then slides back up to lock the blade in place. Also a very strong lock. I have heard people say that the Demko can handle more abuse, but on pocket knives, how I don't think we need to worry about the lock disengaging in most instances. As long as it's not failing, I think we are okay. And if you are trying to split wood with either one of these, you probably need to buy a fixed blade. But if you had to in a pinch, I think both of these would stand up very well to all sorts of abuse. So then some of the differences here. On the Demko, you have a much more aggressive jimping, which I feel like gives you quite a bit more grip onto it. On the top here, which is where you're going to have the most interaction with these, the Civivi does kind of just round you off, and I do slip a little more on the Civivi. The Demko's got pretty aggressive jimping here, and it is not coated, so you don't have that coating to slip off of. The other thing that I think was very well thought out on the lock, you have a little spot where you just slide your finger in and pull down, and it just rolls off of the liners, and you just go right into the lock. And for me, it just fits perfect. On here, you hit that flat spot, come down, and it still works well, but I do find myself slipping off. I think it is a mixture of the jimping, the coating, and having that notch put into the liners and into the scales that just, to me, set the Demko a little bit ahead of the Vision FG as far as the engagement goes. So I'm going to give the round to the Demko. Comfort in the hand. So once we have them opened, which one is more comfortable? Civivi, you got a nice choil to choke up on. You got a very long, tall blade here. The handle is very sleek. It doesn't have any of the cutouts for your fingers, which to me the Demko fits perfect, but I could see how some people just wouldn't line up correctly on here, and then you'll have little valleys and hilltops to jab you in the hand. The Demko does have a place to choke up. You got this little flat spot that you can come up a little bit higher on the blade, and then you have this shark's foot, as they call it, kind of a sheep's foot with a little bit more angling on it to do your utility precision cutting. The Civivi, you have a reverse tanto blade, so you have a lot more space on here. With the Civivi, I feel like I can really use this whole blade on a flat surface. So when you're chopping something or food prep, whatever you use your knives for, I feel like the Civivi is a little more comfortable for most type of cuts, especially on a flat surface. The straight flat blade on the Demko makes it very hard to get down on the belly of the knife. You almost have to think a little more about how am I going to make this cut or that cut happen when you have that style of blade, I find. And then as you can see, the Vision FG has quite a bit more blade on it than the Demko does. Let's do it this way, get a little better comparison. So for me, comfort with the scales, that's another point. The original scales on this drove me so crazy I had to replace them on the Civivi, the G10 scales, or the micarta ones. I don't have a micarta version, but I know I would like them more than what comes on the Demko. So with the Vision, I never had to replace anything. It was fine from the factory, which is how it should be. With the Demko, I did replace the scales. Neither one of the original pocket clips created a hotspot for me. It was more just a personal preference of how they carried, and then this one had another issue that we will talk about. As far as comfort though, I feel like this is a much more ergonomic knife to actually use and cut things with. So we are going to give round 3 to the blue corner, the Vision FG, in comfort / usage. Next up, we are going to do materials. So like I said before, this is the light version in AUS 10A, and then it has these plastic FRN type scales that just feel like kind of like a high point to me. This one you can do G10 or you can get micarta. They both feel comfortable. I know micarta will feel good because that is what is on this. Then you have a Nitro V blade on the Civivi. And then on the back, they both, well, the Vision FG comes with a deep carry clip. The reason I swapped it out for this titanium clip is because within a few days of having the Vision FG, it pulled out on a couch, it got caught, and the clip bent out, and that is the easiest I've ever had a clip bend out on me, a pocket clip bend out on me. So that had to get replaced after that, and I do like this one, but the fact that it bent out that easy is annoying if you ask me. Then also this backspacer here was added in. When I replaced the scales, I went ahead and put a titanium backspacer on the Demko. This one with the length of the lock doesn't really need to add in a backspacer. The other thing is they inset the clip, which is nice, but they could have added a fuller or something like that. But I guess to keep costs down, they decided to just leave the blank space. It is nice that both of these are reversible. The Demko does come with the extra clip, if I remember correctly. So on the materials, these two specific versions, I have to give it to the Civivi FG. The higher end 80-20.5s come with better steel, better handle materials, but price point wise, these are the only two that are going to compare to each other. So these are the two that are being put head to head. So in these configurations, the Civivi wins out. Nitro V is an upgrade from AUS 10A. G10 is an upgrade from the original FRN. And then the pocket clips actually would give the edge to the Demko on the original pocket clip, but it's kind of a wash. Both of them have their flaws. The Demko sits too low or sits too high for me, and the Vision FG bent out within 3 days of purchase. So the blades and the handle materials, I'm gonna have to give it to the Vision FG. And then on the last round of this, we are going to do the value, the cost versus what you are getting, which one makes the most sense financially, which one will give you the most value for your money. So in this one, regular price is over $100 on the OS 10A versions, but you can find the D2 or K110 versions a little bit cheaper sometimes. I actually wish I would have ended up waiting and buying the K110 because I believe right now Knife Center has these for $75 in K110, which is a great deal. They also have the 3V version for $150, which if I had the money, I would probably have bought the 3V version. But at the time, they were not on sale, and this one was, so that is what I ended up picking up on the Civivi. They are listed closer to $100, but pretty much all the time Amazon has these for $78. So right now, $75, $78. Price is kind of a wash, but you can get the Demkos up into the 200s, 400s, 500s, depending on the materials you're wanting and how much money you want to spend. But in this configuration, I have to give it to the Civivi. I feel like you are getting a lot more knife for the money. The only issue in function that I have heard is that stop pin issue, which if you're researching this knife, you will find numerous videos that talk about how the stop pin comes in right here and kind of cuts off from about a little over half of your sharpening life. But I really feel like most people are never going to run into that issue, and I do believe that Civivi fixed that issue on the newer models. I haven't got a hold of one, but I think they have fixed it. So for value, I have to give it to the Vision FG. I just think you're getting a lot more knife for the price. I love my AD 20.5s, and maybe if I had a different version of it, it would compete a little bit more. But right now we've got 4 rounds to 2. Is there a knockout? I don't think so. I think the Vision FG just outpoints the AD 20.5 Lite. But in a different world, maybe the 20.5 would win, depending on the materials, I guess. So yeah, for me personally, I would go with the Vision FG. As far as, I guess, historical significance, I do think the Demko has a little bit more of the nostalgia, I guess. I don't even know the right word, but Demko is legendary in the locking system world, so I do think everyone should have a Demko in their collection. An AD 20.5, an AD 10, an AD 15, something. I decided I needed all 3, but to wrap it up, the winner is the Vision FG in this comparison. If you guys liked the video, like the way this works, comment down below, like the video, subscribe. If you hate it, please leave your hate in the comments as well. It will not offend me. It will not hurt my feelings. I am interested to see what people have to say, whether it's good or bad. If you have a different take on it, you can also comment that down below. But most importantly, love yourself. Do something good for somebody today. Even if it's just to make you feel better, it might also make them feel better. And that's always good. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.